It's funny. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't come from a huge win. They come from a really painful loss. Today, we're going to dig into a story from one trader who was super candid about a day where he just hit a wall, his maximum loss limit. And from his experience, we're going to pull out 3 incredibly powerful rules that honestly apply to anyone trying to get better at anything. So yeah, let's dive in. And it all kicks off with this quote. So the trader, Ollie Payne, makes a move he thinks is pretty sharp. He tells his mentor, Oliver, all about it, probably expecting a pat on the back. But Oliver's reaction? He just laughed. Not in a mean way, but in a you have so much to learn kind of way. That's the sort of feedback that really sticks with you, and it perfectly sets the stage for the lessons he learned that day. So what exactly went down? Well, to put it simply, Ollie had a really rough day. He got into a series of trades that just went completely south, and eventually he hit his max loss. Now that's basically a self-imposed kill switch. It's a rule designed to stop the bleeding before things get truly catastrophic. Let's break down how he even got to that point. Okay, first things first, let's look at the actual trades. What were the specific moves that led to this max loss day? It's a pretty fascinating look at just how fast things can unravel. But before we go any deeper, you've got to understand what max loss really is. It isn't just a sign of a bad day. It's a super important risk management tool. It's the trader's way of saying, all right, whatever I'm doing today is not working. I'm stepping away to protect my money and, just as importantly, my sanity. It is discipline in its purest form. All right, let's get into the play-by-play of the losing trade on this one stock, CVX. So Ollie sees this massive price move, what he calls an elephant bar, and he jumps right in, thinking, this is it. This is the big one. He even adds more money to it. But the market had other plans. The whole thing reverses, hard. He hits his max loss, and even a quick second attempt to get back in just fails completely. It was a classic case of seeing a signal but totally misreading the situation. So, the what is pretty clear. But the much, much more interesting question is why. See, this wasn't just a technical screw-up. The real problem was rooted deep in the trader's own psychology. And there it is, straight from the source. This is the heart of the whole thing. He admits it. I have the eye. He can see the opportunity. He knows what a good setup looks like. But his own ego, that impatience, that need to be right this very second, it stops him from actually letting the trade work. And this is the part that's so frustrating. The initial idea, it might have been spot on, but because he gets shaken out or mismanages the trade because of his ego, he ends up losing money on what could have been a great call. It's a battle that so many of us face, right? Not just in trading, but in pretty much any high-stakes environment. So, how in the world do you fix an ego problem? I mean, that's a tough one. But Ollie's mentor, Oliver, came up with this brilliantly simple, almost mechanical rule to help counteract it. I mean, really think about this for a second. Have you ever had a great idea, you get started, you hit one tiny little speed bump and you just bail, only to watch from the sidelines as your original idea plays out perfectly without you? Ugh, it's the worst feeling. This rule is designed for that exact moment. And the solution is called the 2-try rule. It's so simple. If you have real conviction in your idea and some minor market noise or a quick shakeout pushes you out of your position, you are allowed to get back in one more time. You give a good idea a second chance to prove you right. But the magic number here is 2. That's it, not 3, not 4. This isn't about being stubborn and riding a bad idea all the way to 0. It's a framework that lets you be resilient without being reckless. It's the perfect balance, really, between having conviction and staying disciplined. Okay, so that's the psychological fix. But beyond the head games, there was a huge tactical mistake happening here. This gets into the real nitty-gritty of when you should enter a trade, and it's a lesson Ollie definitely had to learn the hard way. Now, to get this mistake, we have to understand the elephant bar. It's just a nickname for a really big, obvious price move on a chart. It basically screams that the big money players are doing something. But here's the catch. Not all of these big moves are the same. See, you've got an ignition bar. That's the one you want. It's the powerful start of a new trend, like the rocket launch. Then you have an exhaustion bar. That one's fool's gold. It's a big, flashy move that happens at the very end of a trend, right before it collapses. And Ali's mistake? He kept chasing the exhaustion bars, getting in just as the party was ending. And once again, that self-awareness is just so crucial. He knows this is his Achilles heel. He sees that big, exciting move, and that fear of missing out, that FOMO, just takes over, and he jumps on the last gasp of a dying trend instead of catching the beginning of a new one. So we have the two-try rule for the ego, we have the ignition versus exhaustion rule for tactics, but how do you make these lessons actually permanent? How do you really burn them into your brain so you stop making the same mistake? Well, that brings us to the final and maybe the most important idea of all. Look, just knowing you have a bad habit is rarely enough to stop you from doing it again, especially when you're under pressure. To really, truly conquer a mistake that keeps popping up, you have to go deeper. You got to put on your lab coat and treat it like a science experiment. And here's the system. It's the 20 trade analysis method. Step 1, you have to do the homework. You find at least 20 examples where you made the exact same mistake, like chasing those exhaustion bars. Step 2, once you have that collection, that data set, you analyze it. You look for patterns. What time of day does it happen? What's the market doing? Step 3, this deep data-driven look is what finally gives you the insight you need to cut that habit out for good. And that really brings us to the final question for you. This whole thing isn't just about trading, right? Whether you're a coder, a writer, an artist, whatever, what is the one recurring mistake, the one bad habit in your work that you could probably find 20 examples of? Because just spotting it is the first step, but really analyzing it, well, that's how you get to the next level.